Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast with me, Ben Talon, illustrator and creativity coach, founder of the Creative Condition, artist and writer. I bring 20 years of creative industry experience and a lifelong love of creativity, a fundamental pillar of human happiness, to you through ongoing personal exploration and the shared experiences of others. You'll get a nourishing mix of creative industry professionals and people far and wide using creativity in ways that can take our learning to the next level so we can maximise our unique blend. The show's been supported from day one by Illustration-X, a tremendous illustration agency representing a shining global roster of illustrators and animators over at illustrationx.com. The music for the show is by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on all good streaming services. And for everything else, for my coaching, resources and inspiration, head to thecreativecondition.com. Back with the 23rd installment of the Creative Condition's Creativity Diary here on the Creative Condition podcast. My name is Ben Talon. I'm the founder of the Creative Condition and your host. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, guys? How have you been? Speaking to you right now, fresh off zero sleep. I know you're probably tired of it, but the anxiety thing has not gone away. It's improved. I've been working. I've been doing CBT workbooks. I've been listening to Buddhism podcasts about impermanence, which has brought on the idea of today's show, along with a few other things which I will get into in this feature-length diary entry. But how have you been feeling? How have you been doing? There's so much out there bombarding us all of the time. Bad news, constant bad news cycles. You have to really work to look for valuable resources like positive news. Go and have a look at positive news if you're not always on there. My lovely wife, subscribed me to the print magazine, which is beautiful, so well designed, so much good content, and a reminder of the hard work and fights that are happening out there for something better that we have to remind ourselves of in these times, because it really is turbulent. As this, people call it late stage capitalism. I don't know if it's late stage or what, but certainly the powers that be are clinging on, and it's bringing about so much division and cruelty and negativity out there that it's difficult. And you throw into the mix, in my situation, like the rest of us, a chaotic, busy life, twin parent, running a business, trying to push more into my coaching practice while maintaining my work as an illustrator, which is an alien market. And it all kind of adds up. And on some days when I'm tired and vulnerable, the anxiety just attacks and it sets in, and it robs me of sleep. I spent the entirety of last night bouncing from bed to sofa to floor to other sofa to back to sofa to bed, and it's just horrific. You wake up feeling completely empty and have to really battle through the next day to put one foot in front of the other. Go back and listen to the episode with the wonderful Wendy Dignan if you haven't already. If you want a little more on that, Wendy is awesome. She's a psychologist specialising in anxiety and has a brilliant podcast of her own called Overcoming Anxiety, which I cannot recommend highly enough. But today's diary post gets into impermanence and how that has been a tool for good during these mental health battles that I've had going on. So I wanted to share that with you guys today. I would love your feedback if it's something that resonates with you. And if you've had your own struggles, get in touch. We can have a conversation. It's really healthy to talk about this stuff and share it and normalise it, because so many of us are going through it. This system is not designed with happiness in mind. It's designed for profiteering for a very small percentage of people, and the rest of us are going through troubles of some kind or other, mental, physical, and professional. It's all going on. Anyway, sorry for the slightly downtrodden intro to this week's show. I try to be real with you all on the show. Big thank you to the founding sponsor of the show, Illustration-X. They've been supporting the show since the very beginning. They were my founding sponsor. They're awesome. They represent a global roster of illustrators and animators that is second to none. So go and have a look at their platform now at illustrationx.com for all those gorgeous portfolios, and get in touch with the team. They're a great bunch of people if you want their support. There are Illustrator pit stops still remaining at the pilot price. I think it's tough times out there, and I've had one person who jumped on board and did it. One was almost there but decided to hold off for a moment, so there are 3 slots at the bargain price. Doing it at $449, it's eventually going to be $599. So $450 or 600 quid if you want to round it up. Intense session. We get into everything. We get into your brand, your portfolio, but more importantly, your story, your origin story, your personality, your current situation, where you want to go, what the frustrations and the blocks are. And I write up dedicated notes of recommendation after the session to help get you there. I also got the pit stop, the core session that I do through the Creative Condition, which is a one-stop audit of your entire ecosystem of creativity, designed to turn every stone. Again, look for those frustrations, those blind spots, those things that are tripping you up, or the things you're avoiding that could do with a bit of care. We go through digital nutrition, we look at humour, we look at hormones if that comes up. We look at environment. Where are you working? Could you vary it? Where can you escape to when you're not feeling motivated? All of that stuff, and invariably it brings up issues that people either know and have just not addressed, or they don't even know, and things that help them to get some ownership moving forward. So get in touch if that sounds good for you. It applies to anyone leading a career with creativity. I've worked with musicians, designers, artists, illustrators. I've had some of a climate science background. I had an ex-Hollywood writer the other week. I truly love doing it. So get in touch if I could work with you. It will elevate you and get you thinking differently about your creative career. Right, that's enough of that. Let's get into the diary. Oh, and if you get a chance, do rate, review, subscribe to the show. It really, really helps. 25th of November. No, 2nd of November. I told you, no sleep. 2025, the Impermanence Highway. We're in Keighley railway station with 8 minutes to kill before the train arrives. There's an exhibition set up spanning 4 stationary carriages on platform 3, celebrating 200 years of rail travel. After our day trip, the kids, my parents, my wife and I put time aside to go and see it. Just lately I've been reflecting on impermanence, cycles of life, death and renewal. There are many reasons for this, landing somewhere between midlife crisis and external assaults on my inner peace, news cycles, fatherhood as a highly sensitive person, and search for meaning. At 42, in an ever-turbulent world, impermanence helps gain perspective, recognising what I can and cannot control. In his Meditations, Marcus Aurelius urges himself. The books were private diaries, journals and trains of thought, not intended for any kind of publication. To consider the expanse of time before him and the endless stretch that will unfold after he's gone, when seeking to remain balanced and present in life. With this suggestion in mind, my sense of time has been distorted. 200 years used to feel ancient to me, but standing on the railway bridge, looking at the contemporary exhibition identity and original train station signage, it suddenly feels difficult to comprehend that we've only had trains for that long. And how much longer we'll have them if we don't get a handle on biodiversity and climate crises and our global economies is a question worthy of deep consideration. In fact, it's these kind of thoughts that tend to drag me into pits of despair and anxiety. Thoughts that Aurelius and Buddhist teachings have recently helped me to manage enough not to derail days at a time. As we're standing there, my dad tells me how the advent of rail travel ultimately ended the reign of highwaymen. The rich, as ever, were early beneficiaries of this new transport system, which took them and their loot off the bumpy roads they'd been forced to travel in horse-drawn carts, rendering them sitting ducks for road robbers. It also saved them from future hemorrhoid unrest and a lot of time in the process. The exhibition is splendid, displaying the first known drawing of a train by a child who watched the first passenger and freight steam traction train service set off on the Stockton and Darlington Railway. This is a surreal, magic experience as I stare at the glee that shines out of this pencil sketch, spilling the boy's wonder onto a page next to the gorgeous, old-fashioned handwriting. But stepping out of the historic Keighley station onto the iconic Worth Valley Railway depicted in The Railway Children into a lit adult street is sobering. I love my hometown, its heritage, its people, its soul, but walking up a street on which I spent a good portion of my childhood calls upon the perspective of impermanence once more. Here, just a few decades ago, I spent many happy hours enjoying a gigantic toy shop, 2 dedicated art supply stores, 2 video libraries, and an array of other assorted independent boutiques. Today, like a tragic number of high streets in the UK, vape shops, takeaways, nail bars and cash converters tell a story of an economic, political and cultural robbery. There is not one bookstore in the town centre, unless we count the works or the corners of charity shops. These newer businesses have every right to be here, and it's preferred to derelict or empty units, but their intense consumerist purpose, casting their neon backlit brands into the mucky puddles on the pavement below, paints a stark picture in which the distinction between the highwaymen and the rich has disappeared completely. The town, like so many others without the spoils of middle-class money or authority investment, is infected with a tangible social sickness. Put simply, people don't come here the way they used to. The hidden gems that can be found around the town, Grind and Groove Records, the Kindred Bazaar, and the tranquil, welcoming World Peace Cafe, are harmed indirectly as a succession of national chain stores close their Keighley branches, giving people less and less reasons to knock around town any longer than they have to. My mum reports these closures, lamenting the resultant loss of community. The lifeblood of small towns like these is in their people, their presence and connection, face to face as news is shared in person. But if towns are reduced to supermarkets and synthetic smoking appliances, that connection ceases, and the chatter seeps into insidious social media arenas where it grows thorns and points the finger of blame at others. My creativity could never have taken the shape it did were it not for Keighley. Everything it gave and lacked. We all ran it down in conversations over beers in pubs, but if anyone else disparaged it, we kicked off and defended it because we loved it unconditionally. We adored its oddities and gritty ways. Those railways took me to places further afield where I began to see what else was possible, what could be, how other places did things, and yet every time we jutted back into the station, I felt a warm welcome home. But that spirit is desaturated in this moment. So, I think of impermanence. I think of the shifts over time, of generations long before mine who suffered in their own way, in their own version of scarcity, only for the sun to rise against the odds. It will rise again. And as ever, as I stem the sadness brought on by the fear and uncertainty in the air, I conjure an image of what might yet come to pass, employing my imagination to restore balance to my thoughts. High streets nationwide are in crisis. The internet has shafted retail prospects from all angles. The economy is struggling to draw breath. Division is the order of the day, while our elite claim ever bigger dollops of cream from all of us. Nobody yet knows what comes next, or how to find out, but we've seen, time and again, how great ideas and art emerge when backs are against the wall. So I calm my racing mind and remember the cyclical nature of such beleaguered towns. Days after the visit to Keighley, I begin drawing parallels with the creative industry, where whether in our own retail crisis, the same spiritual reckoning seen in troubled town centres across the country. Freelancers and agencies alike sigh and pace their metaphorical shop floors, peering into the street, hoping for something. Confidence is down, and when the door beeps, when people do come in, most leave again, without so much as a courteous "thank you" on the way out. So, fear and cynicism again. Become the most irresistible boutique, the swaggering corporate behemoth, or fuck off. Okay, maybe not quite, but it's bloody difficult for many as the squeeze tightens. But impermanence. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome at a time when plagues and many wars could have rendered his life a waking nightmare. And yet he found it within himself to recognise the passing nature of all things. A little digging into the happenings of 1825, when the boy, full of wonder, drew that first train, teaches me that 70 banks in England failed in what's come to be known as the financial panic. And here we are, writing another chapter, a robotic revolution happening right here around us, in our fucking pockets, without any kind of consent. All those big tech parasites feeding off us lot down here, in Keighley, in the creative industry, draining our rivers and our high streets and calling it progress. And what can we do about it? Until I can report back on that, I'll just continue to create about it and use the perspective of impermanence. there you have it, guys. I'm sorry if it's a little downbeat today, but that's how I've been feeling. That's what the lack of sleep does, and the chaotic half term, as beautiful as it was, a lovely holiday, a lovely trip to see the family as detailed there, and the brilliant 200-year history of the railways exhibition. It was fantastic if you get a chance to see it somewhere near you. Despite all that, it's bloody exhausting, and it's laid me low, so I've been reflecting, and I hope you get something from it. And we'll be back next week with a new guest episode, so I appreciate you listening. Please do rate, review, subscribe to the show. Tell a friend, most importantly of all. Tell someone who you think might get something from the show. I'm trying to build the numbers as ever. And get in touch if that resonated with you. Or if you want to work with me on my coaching, there are pit stop and illustrator-specific coaching sessions available. Give me a shout. We'll jump on a Zoom call. We'll have a no obligation 20-minute chat to go through your situation, see if we can help you, and we'll go from there. Lovely, guys. Big thank you to Illustration X, the founding sponsor of the show, and please do consider supporting the Ukrainian Institute, who are working to support the Ukrainian creative community in this horrific time of war. Love you all for listening. That means a lot. Cheers, guys. Take care.